Our guest today, Patrice Isley, an acclaimed American vocalist and songwriter. Patrice has graced the stage and studio with legends like Barry White, Philip Bailey, and Stevie Wonder. She has backed icons such as Teddy Pendergrass, Coolio, and Gladys Knight. Beyond her extensive work with multi-platinum artists, Patrice is celebrated for her original music and soulful covers. Nigel Clarkson's guest today, Patrice Isley.
Okay, today on the Sounds Showbiz podcast, I'm lucky to be speaking to Patrice Isley. Hello, are you all right?
Yes, I'm here. Hey, how you doing, Nige?
Oh, I'm fine. Now, where are we speaking to you? Because you're a busy lady. You've been traveling around. Where are you actually at this moment in time?
Well, currently now I'm on the East Coast. I normally have my home base in Las Vegas, Nevada, but I'm on the East Coast right now, in the Baltimore, Maryland area, actually.
Oh, very nice. You like traveling about a bit then? Do you like doing that?
I love traveling. That's how I got to get into singing, actually, one of the main ways, because I just love traveling and meeting people and absorbing cultures. And yeah, it's good stuff.
I was going to say, before we get into your new stuff, I mean, all your album and talking about that and your new songs that have come out, let's go all the way back. Let's rewind all the way back to, when you were a kid. How did you get into music in the first place?
You know what? I think, to be honest with you, I wish I would have grown up in a musical family, but I actually started singing because I used to watch how my mom would squeal whenever Tom Jones or Tina Turner would come on the TV, but more specifically Tom Jones, and she just got so worked up. So I remember I just had some little go-go boots she bought me and some friends, so I used to get up on the table and shake, and then from there I just started singing, and she was a school teacher. Let me step back one level. And she kind of realized that, I was a little gifted. So she taught me how to hold a pencil and write. And then by 3, I could read and write. And I actually wrote my first song at 3. Wow. So to be honest, I think I just kind of came here with it and then just have developed it over the years. So
excellent. So are all the family with the family musical?
No. Well, my dad had a beautiful singing voice. And when he was younger, he actually was in a, gospel group, and they almost got a recording contract. But other than that, he was a businessman, but I would hear him whenever he wasn't traveling, walking through the house singing. And I loved his voice. And then my mom was kind of eclectic with her music choice. So she would listen to everything from Barbra Streisand to Seals and Crofts to the Temptations, you name it. So music was always a happy place for us at home.
So what sort of genres were you into then? Was it anything really at that time?
Well, like I said, I started out with, oh gosh, here we go. I said he's the type of interviewer that's going to ask some questions to make me dig deeper.
Don't worry.
And actually date myself. There used to be this show in America. There's a cartoon company called Hanna-Barbera, and they had these little girls called the Sour Grapes. They were so fast. They had go-go boots. They would come out and shake, and they would do this little stuff. So I started loving like fast music and rock. I did hear some gospel from my grandmother. So I was all over the place with music. I mean, I didn't have a certain genre. I was equal opportunity.
Yeah. I find that a lot of people like that. Artists are, they say they listen to all sorts of different music. Is that right? I mean, I used to think as a kid that they were just pigeonholed to whatever they were singing at the time. If they were a big star and they were a rock star, I just thought, they're just into rock music.
Example, a lot of people don't know, let's say like an Elvis Presley. I mean, they know now because there's movies and things like that. For the music he did, he loved gospel, or Christian music. So he would do a lot of that during rehearsals or behind the scenes. So you're right. Sometimes artists are known for a certain genre, but they do have a diverse palette. So
yeah. So as a kid, then you got singing as a kid. Yeah, you thought, I can do a bit of singing. So what was your first, big break as a kid, or where, can you remember that first opportunity and you thought, wow, there's something in this, I've got this little gig to do. Can you remember that?
Well, for me, believe it or not, and not to get off topic, it was actually in an act here in the States. They had a little kids show called Romper Room. And I don't know how my mom got me on the show, but they would always call me back. So I was recurring. So I got used to kind of being in front of a camera and, just being available and open and kind of, just having fun. And then I really didn't do anything again until, a couple school plays, wrote some stuff, and just used to perform around the house and for the mailman and anyone that would listen to me. The Jackson Five were popular, so I used to re-sing their songs. But fast forward, when I was in college, that's kind of when it started to creep up again.
Yeah, yeah. So we got to get to college. Things started
Yeah.
happening. Doors started to open to this slightly then.
Yeah. Well, it started to open up a little bit, and I'm sorry I didn't mean to rush over the childhood section, but it was mainly just performing for family and friends, and that's when I knew I could harmonize.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I won't go into that story, but back to college, I I was a nerd always in school. I was always a nerd. I don't know if in the UK they know what a nerd is, but it's someone that's good in science and, didn't have a
Yeah.
lot of boyfriends. I was just not kind of like a wallflower. But when I got to the university, I started listening to soul music a little more. And there was a couple of artists that I really enjoyed. So when things got kind of thin financially, I took a record that I had a couple records, and I used to go out to the nightclubs. I don't know if I had fake ID, but I would go out to the nightclubs that had singing contests, and
Yeah.
I would sing and either win like usually first, with all humility, first and second, or second, not first or second, first prize. I got a friend of mine to come, and she would corner second, so we would go outside and split the cash, and then go buy groceries. So I saw.
Brilliant. I love that.
I saw you could make a little living on it. It was an Angela Winbush song called "Your Smile," and I also had a Patti LaBelle. They were the only two that had instrumental 12 inches back when I was in school. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Patti LaBelle. Oh, what a classic, isn't it? A classic artist.
yes, with a big voice, and I had to work that out. But, it was a treasure. And last but not least, as I mentioned, I wasn't really brought up in church, but I was instrumental in developing. Well, I was the president of the gospel choir at
Yeah.
Marquette University. I guess my last 2 or 3 years there. So again, I wasn't going to church, but I liked the music. So college was, and I sang Phyllis Hyman. I remember one time for a talent show. So that was it. It
Yeah.
was something to add just to break up from all my studies.
Yeah.
So
There's another big star as well. I
yeah.
remember all these songs very well when I was playing them in the clubs and stuff like that all those years ago. I'll be giving my age away now. I'll never keep talking like
Well, I'm out there. I've hung it. So
that. Everybody knows how old I am. Far too
Ah,
old. So impressive career you've had, haven't you? So how did did you start as a backing singer basically? Or were you going,
yeah. I I moved to LA after studying with a gentleman named David Lee Brewer. You can Google him. He's a phenom in its own. He's a voice teacher. And I was in LA for about 5 days and ended up going to an audition. Had never auditioned before. As a matter of fact, it was so funny until they're like, "Is she serious?" But they ended up booking me for it, and I was placed in a singing group. And that was never, my plan. I moved to LA in what was it, my mid-20s, and Nina Simone's daughter was in the group. Her name is Lisa Simone, and a Broadway actress named Janie Jones.
yeah,
So we worked on a group for a few months. Um, Matila Shabazz, she's Malcolm X's oldest daughter, was the manager of the group. But I was young and I felt like I should have had a recording contract as soon as I got to LA. Very naive. So I went out and I found out I was invited to come to a rehearsal slash audition for Barry White. And that's what happened. So I went in and was blessed to get that opportunity and hit the road with him. And
yeah.
back in those days, he would use a different group of singers, like for each, city or piece of a tour that he had. But I was able to get on with him and last, I guess, about 4 months. Went to France, Amsterdam, Den Haag. I mean, I'd be pronouncing that correctly. Nice. I mean, it was just so incredible,
Wow.
and just loved it. I felt so blessed.
So
So
that would
that's
give
how
you a taste for the action then, wouldn't it? Then you think, oh, I want more of this, I want to keep carrying on doing this.
exactly. And then being, again, young, a lot of let's see who was, I don't want to say who was out then, but it was like maybe rap had taken over just yet. There were some cool little R&B groups that were starting to come out, not little, but so I really wanted to go with some of the younger up and coming rapping people, but
Yeah.
uh, Mr. White, gave myself the opportunity, I can tell you, I didn't complain about traveling first class or having private chefs and, all the stuff that being with a legend like that afforded, someone that was new like
Yeah.
myself, So
Wow.
really was blessed and got to watch how people that are legends do what they do.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that put you in good stead then, wouldn't it? If you said I've worked with Barry White, I mean, you're on a high flyer then, aren't you?
Yeah, that was, yeah. I mean, it really, yeah, it started it.
Now the process goes about then. So you're a backing singer with Barry White. You come
Yes.
back, and then does everybody start getting in contact with you, or do you have an agent, or how's that work?
Well, Nigel, again, because it's you. And of course, I had to research and try to find out. I'm like, okay, he likes unique stories. So I'm not gonna, I'm gonna go deeper on you. And I don't know how much time we have. I hear my husband in my head going, tell short answers. I'm doing my best. Anyway, um, you know what? Let me say it to you this way. When you have a strong work ethic, and I'm just going to say it.
Yeah,
If the call time is at 3 o'clock, I remember one gig, I won't say the artist, but at 3 o'clock, it was the sound engineer and I was in front of the microphone, again, a backing gig. The musicians were outside smoking weed. Some of the other two singers were doing whatever. And I'm not, saying it again, anything against people that smoke. But if they said to the call time was 3 o'clock. I made sure if I was the only person there, if the music director wasn't there, I was standing in front of my mic, testing it with my water ready to go. So I made sure that my work ethic was
yeah,
well.
yeah.
That's one. And then you start to get a reputation. So um, I made sure that I didn't like sleep with the art with the artists. That's another secret. Um, I only went out once with an artist one time, and I can tell you that story if you like, or I can scoot along. It's your
You don't
choice.
have to.
I don't mind. No, there's a gentleman, he's no longer with us. His name was Donald Tavier. He was the drummer for this group called Lakeside. And he invited me to a session, and Norman Connors was there, who's a big soul guy. If your listeners may not be familiar with him, and jazz, he has a great dossier. Work with
Yeah,
Phyllis Hyde, people. But anyway, um, it was a recording session, and the singer hadn't shown up, so I was just sitting there listening, and I love being in the recording studio. I went in and took a swing at kind of laying some background vocals. They were kind of, one of the few times that it didn't work out. But I did catch Mr. Connor's attention. And then he ended up contacting me later. And, I hadn't ever had Cuban food. He took me out a little bit and met some of my family. But other than that, I just made sure that I kept my reputation proper.
yeah.
And and then I was in a group of people that used to get together. And I told you I was not religious. I mean, when I was young, I was out there. I didn't mess around with the artists, but I was doing my thing. And there was a group of entertainers that used to meet to do Bible study together.
Yeah.
So I just used to go because I'm from Texas. It's a very hospitable place. And we believe in sharing food and communion. So I used to go because after the Bible study, they would always feed us.
Yeah.
So I got to meet some connections that way that came to know my work ethic and my voice and my name. So that
Yeah.
opened up doors also for some gigs. That was
Excellent.
a long, but there you go.
Have you traveled around a lot of countries then? You will have done, won't you, over the time?
Yeah, I've done I've been blessed to travel quite a bit. That was the other reason I saw fit of it being a blessing to at least tour. Again, I wasn't planning on being a background artist, but 30 plus artists later and counting, it did help me to make a great living and to be able to travel in the States and overseas as well, and to be paid for something that I love. That's how
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you come to the UK? Have you been to the UK?
No, I haven't been to the UK.
You're not
And
missing anything.
you stop that. You stop that right now. No, I mean, I would love to come to the UK. And I'm so blessed that my last three singles working with Expansion Records and Ralph T and Deanne Hines and PR over there,
Yeah.
people listening to the music, and I can't wait to get there sometime so I can meet some of the fans. And And I'm talking a lot right now, but usually I'm kind of quiet and shy. But when I'm on stage, that's a whole different. You
Yeah.
all get to see what my husband has to deal with. It's fun. It's crazy.
Yeah. You find a lot of people in the business are like that, aren't they? They're like, it's like an act sometimes, isn't it? They're good on, they're different on stage, aren't they? Different people.
Yes. Yeah, I thought I was unique, myself and maybe Michael Jackson. But I've said that in public before. I'm like, you all usually I'm kind of shy or I like to keep to myself, and people are like, boo, because it's just when I'm on stage, I'm happy, life is coming through me. I'm serving people with my gifts. I'm acting up, and God forbid I have a slamming band. It's just so fun. It's the
Yeah.
sky's the limit. And then, you come home and you retreat and you do the things that it takes to create music.
Yeah. And you've done a lot of TV as well, haven't you, on your travels? A lot of TV shows. What was your favorite TV show then that you appeared on?
On the Grammys here in the States,
Wow.
um, yeah, that was just, oh God, just being around so many musical acts
Yeah.
and people at the top of their game to be nominated, that was just incredible.
Yeah. That's cool, isn't it? Um, was there anything funny happened on TV while you're on the telly or that
Oh,
never really got out to the public, They cut it out.
oh, oh, you mean where the cameras were rolling? Oh, well, nothing that you can see, but I'll have to share this. My first time being on television as an adult was when I sang background for Philip Bailey,
Yeah.
Earth, Wind and Fire. He had his
Yeah.
one of his solo albums he was working on, and I got the call to sing backup. And I hadn't been on television since I was a child. Well, I did a couple commercials, but um, it was on the Arsenio Hall show. I don't know if your listeners are familiar with him, but here's the thing. If you go on my YouTube and look at some of the work I've done with different artists, and Patrice Isley, everything is Patrice Isley, my social media, my YouTube, website, everything, Patrice Isley.
Yeah.
I was always positioned right at the end where the camera would see me. So with working with Philip Bailey, we had a choreographer. It was high intensity. And on the inside, I mean, I was panicked. And my mom had bought me a pair of thigh-high boots. Now, back then, things were not as risque, but my mom, she loved Prince. She was out of the box. I had on these boots and I was just afraid they were going to flop down and I was going to stumble because they were high heels. So I was just terrified. But if you look at me, I'm smiling and doing all the hand gestures, but
Yeah.
my inside are just about to drop out. Sorry, that was graphic. Edit. No.
Behind
Sorry.
all the singing, the support and everything you've been doing and sessions and stuff, you've always wanted to do your own stuff, I suppose, have you?
From day one. Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you've done that, haven't you? You got an album out. I've looked at some of the tracks actually. I've been listening today to it, and there's quite a mixture on there, isn't there?
Yeah, my very, very first album that I released a few years back. Um, yeah, it's a mixture of music. All right, let's just go there. Um, oh, Nigel, what are you doing to me?
What you like?
The presumption a lot of times if is that, you're just gonna do soul and R&B if you look like me, you know? But I grew up with like Kiss, the Bay City Rollers, all the music groups, all the city groups like Kansas, Journey, Genesis. I mean, just a diverse amount of music. And then being
Yeah,
from Texas, that's a place that has country western music. So I was around a ton of music. So for my first project, my husband, I was married at that time. He's like, you don't have to be in a box. Just, spend some time and put who you are on the project. And because writing, as much as I love singing, and God blessed me to have 5 octaves, like real, high range and low range. I love writing. That's like a
right.
passion. I love being in the studio. I love writing. So if listeners, go to my website and look up the album, it's Believe in Love. We did that in about a week,
Wow.
which is unheard of. It's kind of well, one because of budgetary necessity, I'm an unsigned artist, so my husband's like, you have a week in the hotel. He wasn't like Ike Turner, but he was like, you need to get in there
Yeah.
and do that work. So yeah, but I did everything from bluesy country to neo soul and um, so that was my genesis of at least putting a calling card out there to say, yeah, I've sung background, but I can sing different genres and I'm here for it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I know it's a lot of the old favorite instruments. Well, I would say like it sounded a bit jazzy, some of them, are they? Is that right?
Yeah, on the first album I did, and you're very keen. And thank you for mentioning my first project. The gentleman, his name is Lou Lang, that mixed it, and he's a jazz guy. I mean, he's charted on Billboard, so it does have a jazz slant. And then Eric Dennis is a producer that I worked on a lot of the original music with, and also on the singles, most of the singles that I've been blessed to release on Expansion Records. Um, they have jazz roots.
Yeah,
He has gospel. He does all the genres though.
yeah. The old favorite of mine, saxophone was on one of them.
Oh, yes.
Do you know which track I meant? Can't remember the name now, but
Just Believe in Love.
very strong, wasn't it, with the saxophone?
Yeah, I did. I won't tell the story, but I did a remake of a song called Just Believe in Love. I see you. By a group called the Daz Band, and that one has just a beautiful saxophone on the original, and so I wanted to try to keep that same deal on the one that I remade on the album. So yeah.
Yeah. Some nice ballads on there as well. Notice that that's because it went from one thing to another. One minute we're on a bit of saxophone, next thing it was like a ballad.
Yeah, it was a mix, and I'm excited because right now I'm actually in the studio working on some new music.
Ooh,
I don't know if we'll get to that part, but what you hear that I did in 2016, now here in 2024, I'm on a completely different vocal level, and
yeah.
I was proud of the writing back then, but now the writing is even better. So I'm excited.
And you've had a release out in May, didn't you? You had a single come out then in May.
Yes, I did a remake of a George Duke song called "I Want You for Myself." Uh,
Yeah,
and I'm just so blessed because we were looking at the airplay reports and it's going crazy. The DJs are playing it and I'm excited about it.
yeah,
A quick story on that one. The gentleman that did the track, his name is Gary Hudgins, really popular in house music overseas on your neck of the woods. He worked with the lady that, well, it doesn't matter, ton of people. But he reached out and said, "Hey, I did this George Duke remake," and he lives in Baltimore, but he said the vocals are so intense. He said, "I haven't been able to find a vocalist here." So he
yeah,
sent it to me in Las Vegas, and I went into Rusty Hamilton's studio. We did some vocals, and then I got together with Tom Schumann of Spiral Gyra, and we recorded some of the vocals and backgrounds.
yeah.
And Deanne Hines heard it. She's like, "Oh yeah, put a saxophone on it." She said, "We're going to release it." So
Excellent.
they did, and people have been enjoying it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So what are you going to be doing the latter half of this year? Because this year's flying, isn't it? When you think about it, 5 months we're at the end of the year. So what are you doing for the rest of the year?
well, as I mentioned, I'm out here on the East Coast
Yeah,
and in the studio as we speak, and I'm just so excited about some of the music we're working on with Eric Dennis and myself. It's like just birthing something that and you hope and pray that people will enjoy. But I'm going to be working on the music, and
excellent.
then I'll have a couple performances out here back east before I head back to Vegas. And then, as an independent artist, and then with association with Expansion, it takes a lot to market, music. So
Yeah.
that I'm going to get ready for the marketing piece of releasing the album. So.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people about the promotion. It's a bit of a hard one at the moment, and a hard cookie to crack, that one, isn't it? I've had quite a few independent artists on as well who promote themselves, and it's so difficult, isn't it, to get a deal that somebody will help you.
Yeah, it's really from when I first got into music, it was always the dream to get with a record label, but as the whole structure is different now,
Yeah,
and it's based a lot on social media, and again, I'd like to mention them because I wouldn't have met you without them. Expansion Records, they've been great to pick up a few of my singles. And, I'm going to be submitting more music. We'll see if they want
Yeah,
to release an album. But it's a full-time job to promote music and to
yeah.
get it out now.
We've
Mhm.
got like a problem here because it's not like America, but America's got loads of radio stations, doesn't it? Got loads. You've got
Oh,
so much choice. Is it still like that? Has it changed a bit? It's shrunk the market here a little bit. We've got less radio stations now.
um, uh, I would like to answer it this way because I know there's terrestrial radio stations,
Yeah,
which I had to learn this, which is like FM, AM, like your traditional radio.
yeah,
Now, like there's things like Sirius Radio, and then there's a lot of internet stations.
yeah,
So I would imagine maybe that has possibly shrunken the terrestrial market, like the FMs and AMs. But
yeah,
I know they're out there,
yeah.
and with that, it takes a lot more to reach those stations and see if they can play your music. So,
Yeah, we need some sort of because I had my own radio station on the internet, like you mentioned, for 3 years, Sans Radio,
yes.
and it's very competitive. Though I found it very competitive, um,
Mm,
and then you've got the big nationals that seem to be taking everybody out. But there needs to be a link. Well, I think there's a missing link somewhere between the artists and the radio stations now because it's going to evolve where we go in a full circle, and I think they're going to get more radio stations coming up, and we need to get that link together by so different artists get listened to because the big ones are only play like a rotation of 250 songs and that's
right.
it all week.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? You just know your business because you've been in it for so long. But I'm like you, I believe still in rainbows and unicorns. So
Yeah,
that's part of the reason why I do what I do, because I know that there's still for example, there's a huge audience that enjoy good music, great singing. And so I'm praying that it does come full circle
yeah,
where concert tickets are not so unaffordable like they are here. I don't know how they are over there, that people want to be able to hear like real music, great singing, that there'll be more exposure. Like you said, the stations can come back. I'm not sure, but I believe it can come around again.
yeah.
I believe,
Or maybe in some sort of internet, something that's not been born yet, some sort of because we find that obviously the video is very interactive in it. Everybody's trying to get on the video side of it.
yeah.
But anyway, we'll see anyway. But maybe I'll crack it one day, but it might be too late though.
I love it. The fact that you asked that question, I said maybe he'll get some inspiration on something, but I believe it can come back around.
Yeah, that's why I do the podcast because I believe in the podcast and speaking to everybody because we get a better picture about what the music business is all about instead of the ones that are just pushed out, mechanically operated songs that are just generated. And we're stuck with that, really. We're not stuck with a good, like in the old days, we used to have every sort of music like we were discussing. It's not like that now, not the ones that are put out into the main media anyway. So I've got three questions I always ask to my guests before I say ta-ta.
Sounds
Now,
good.
they're not bad, but we ask them everybody who asks the same questions because we get different results. So it makes it really, really interesting to the listeners.
Okay.
Right, I'm going to start off with the first question. You might be able to answer this one easily. We'll see. Who's your favorite artist of all time? Or maybe the first person as a kid that you thought, oh, they are brilliant.
It was Tom Jones, I told you. Because he could sing and he could wiggle and the women would scream and he has
Yeah.
such a soulful voice and his voice didn't fit his look, as
Mm,
far as, and that's something for me. Like I said, I may look like, I would only sing one genre, but
yeah.
Prince did, Stevie Wonder. I mean, there's lots of folks. So
Yeah, I know it's difficult, especially when you've been singing with all these people anyway. So it's going to be even more difficult, isn't it? And we'll
yeah.
stick to Tom Jones anyway.
And I love Minnie as a vocalist. I love Minnie Riperton. Let me say that because she had the high notes.
Oh
But
wow, that song was brilliant, wasn't it? Loving me, loving you.
yes.
Fantastic, that fantastic song. Right, question number two. We're moving on. Do you drive? Drive a car?
You said, do I drive?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, good. What's your favorite car, or what's a car that we would love to buy one day, or have you already had it?
I would just love a very swank, but not oversized limo so I could ride.
Yeah, music on really loud.
Oh yeah, definitely. With all the accoutrement inside of the limo.
Yeah.
I actually have a little Honda Civic that I used to have when I was like my first vehicle ever. And everyone around town I called it the limo. And
Yeah.
everyone, there she goes, there's a limo. We saw the limo. So yeah, so that would be my dream, just to be driven around.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds cool. And the last one is, right, I don't know if you can answer this one or not quickly. Favorite go-to snack when you're doing a gig, say you're on the, behind in the green room of a TV show, what's a favorite snack that if you feel a little bit peckish, what would you go to?
Oh my gosh, popcorn. I'm a fiend for popcorn. I don't know what happened to me,
It's
but
just full of air.
I love it. And it has a right crunch and you can flavor it. Oh, so that's me.
Popcorn, yeah, great. Hey, it's been great chatting to you anyway, and I really appreciate you being on the podcast. Can you let us know of your next song? When's your next song out?
And the label just asked that a couple days ago. So I'm going to prayerfully say within a month's time is my goal at the
Yeah,
latest. Because I don't want to give the title up, but there's a song that we're in the studio working on now
yeah,
with
yeah.
a gentleman, Eric Dennis and I are working on it, and a gentleman that is a Grammy Award winning writer. And I worked on it a few years ago, so we're reviving it. So hopefully within the next month. And, you all please, and you'll probably get to this, just please go to my YouTube channel, Patrice Isley, and follow it, subscribe. My social media is Patrice Isley, and my website is patriceisley.com. So Facebook, Instagram, you all please stay in touch that way.
Yeah, we're going
Yeah.
to do all the links anyway underneath the podcast. We'll do that all for you so we link up nicely with everybody. So you'll go on the
I'm not
website as well. And I just do as much as I can.
Oh, I saw that. I'm like, he is so thorough. I'm not used to being so spoiled. I was so excited about having this interview with you.
Oh,
I just
thanks.
asked my husband, I'm just like, I was up. I could barely sleep. I was so excited.
Well, it's a good way of. I like this when we're talking to people in the US and then we're talking in the UK as well because we're getting a good mix going on.
It's so amazing. And after having had this interview with you, I hear your heart to want to have things come back around
Oh,
and I
thank you.
for you. And I
Yeah,
want to thank Ralph T and Expansion Records and Deanne Hines because I wouldn't have gotten to you without that. And
excellent. Thank you very much. Wish you all the very best anyway, because I think you've got a really bright future coming up. I can't wait to hear all the new music as well. Make sure you mail it over and we can
yeah,
share it all over our socials as well. And we'll probably speak to you again in a year or so, if that's all right. We'll get back in touch. If you
I
come
would
to the
love
UK, though, give us a nod, won't you?
you. Yes.
We can travel
That's the short.
far. We can come and see you singing
I would love to. I would love to. That I can't wait. One of these days,
one of
hopefully.
these days. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Thanks again, anyway, for joining us. And you take care.
You too. Thanks, Nigel.
Thank you for joining us and sharing in the untold stories of the stars. In the world of showbiz, there's always another story waiting to be told. See you next time.